America doesn't have a gun problem. It has a crime problem. It has a leadership problem, and it has a truth problem. And the longer we let Ivy League bureaucrats and radical prosecutors run the show, the worse it's going to get. So if you believe in the Constitution, in self-defense, in justice, and in common sense, make sure you're subscribed to Jace Manhwa. We're not backing down. We're not watering it down. And we're not afraid to call it exactly how we see it.
Why do you think that Chicago has become America's largest outdoor shooting range? Do you think it's because of Chicago citizens who have no criminal record, but who have lawfully a gun in their home for protection or perhaps for hunting? Or do you think it's because of a finite group of criminals who have rap sheets as long as King Kong's arm?
So Mississippi, Louisiana, and Missouri actually have higher firearm death rates. Obviously, there's certain...
What about Chicago?
So I don't live in Chicago. It's not my primary area of research.
You don't have an opinion on that?
I think there's easy access to firearms combined with environmental conditions, lack of great education. There have actually been studies showing that when you green vacant lots and repair abandoned buildings in urban neighborhoods, you see decreases in gunshots, in violence, as well as in stress and depression in the neighborhoods around them.
No disrespect, Doc, but that sounds a lot like word salad to me.
I am a board-certified emergency physician and dean of the Yale School of Public Health. I've spent nearly 20 years working as an emergency physician in a top-tier trauma center. Here in the U.S., treating firearm injuries is a routine part of emergency medicine. During our training, we learn how to identify who must go right to an operating room, how to crack the chest of someone who's bleeding out, and how to notify family members of a death. While in training, though, we rarely, if ever, learn to ask what could be done to prevent a gunshot wound in the first place. That changed for me about 15 years ago, after I cared for a young man, the son of a first responder, who had shot himself with his parents' firearm. He was the first patient I'd cared for who had intentionally shot himself. I couldn't save him, but he changed my perspective on gun violence. First, his death drove me to learn more about firearm suicide, to realize that in the emergency department, we rarely saw suicide attempts from a gun, not because they were rare, but because they were so often fatal. Second, his death led me to question why we didn't think about gunshot wounds the same way we think about drunk driving or heart disease, as something we can and should prevent. Most disturbingly, I noticed the difference in how my colleagues responded to this suicide compared to the everyday toll of community gun violence. Since that case, I have treated people for every type of firearm injury, from domestic violence to victims.
Welcome back to Jace Manhwa. If you're tired of the lies, if you're fed up with politicians and academics dancing around the truth, then do me a favor. Like this video, hit that subscribe button, and let's dig into this mess together. Now, let's talk about what we just watched. A so-called expert, a dean at Yale, testified in front of Congress about gun violence. And right out of the gate, this whole thing reeked of the same elitist nonsense we've heard over and over again. The opening question was simple. Why has Chicago become America's largest outdoor shooting range? Is it the average citizen, the law-abiding gun owner protecting his home? Or is it the career criminals with rap sheets that stretch from here to the moon? But instead of giving a straight answer, this doctor launched into a monologue about environmental conditions and green spaces. I'm sorry, what? Do criminals in Chicago suddenly drop their illegal firearms because someone planted flowers on the sidewalk? Here's the thing. This isn't complicated. We know where the problem is coming from. It's not the guy who owns a shotgun in Missouri or the woman with a handgun locked in a safe in Indiana. It's gangs. It's repeat offenders. It's broken cities run by soft-on-crime leadership. And every time we try to talk about it, they change the subject. This woman brought up childhood trauma, vacant lots, and mental health services. Like any of that means anything when a gangbanger's got an illegal Glock in his waistband. Then she went into her personal story, and yes, it was tragic. A young man took his own life with a firearm. Nobody is saying that isn't heartbreaking. But here's what she missed. Suicide, while a serious issue, is a separate conversation from the daily street violence in our cities. She tried to lump it all into one basket so she could push a public health narrative. That's not policy. That's activism with a lab coat. And when she got grilled, rightfully, about what she thinks of prosecutors dropping gun charges or soft-on-crime policies in places like Philly and LA, she ducked. She passed. Over and over again, she said, "That's not my area of research. Give me a break." If you're going to sit in front of Congress and act like you have the solution to gun violence, then you better be prepared to speak on how laws are enforced. But no, what we got instead was another academic pretending to have all the answers while refusing to answer anything meaningful. She doesn't support suspending the Second Amendment, she says, but she also doesn't support prosecuting gang members with illegal guns. What are we doing? And then it got really disturbing. One of the most chilling parts of this entire testimony was when she said no one should be judged by the worst thing they've done. That sounds nice in a college ethics class, but out here in the real world, that logic is dangerous. You rape someone, you shoot someone, you kill someone, you absolutely should be judged by that. You should face the full weight of justice. This isn't about forgiveness or therapy. It's about protecting victims and keeping predators off our streets. But that's the problem with the modern left. They care more about the criminal than the victim, more about feelings than facts, more about planting trees than locking up killers. Here's the bottom line.